Welcome everyone to another CTC software webinar. My name is Sean Zerbis. I'm the Director of BIM Development here at CTC Software. And in today's session, I want to introduce you to a product we have called the CTC Nexus Suite. This is going to be very much an overview of this product as a whole, because we're going to go deep into each individual tool within the Nexus Suite in upcoming webinars. So if you're interested in that, for those of you who are joining us live, we encourage you to check out our events page and take a look at those individual tools for those that interest you today. And for those of you watching this on YouTube, well, if you subscribe to the channel, we record these webinar presentations live and then process them into our YouTube channel. And we hope that you find this valuable as a future recording, as well as if you're here partnering with us live. Now, for those of you who do partner with us live on these and you're here in the presentation today, please feel free, throw questions into the QA window in GoToWebinar. I try to answer those live while we're going through the presentation when it's meaningful. And we also save a QA session for the end. That typically doesn't make it into the actual recording that goes up to YouTube. So without further ado, though, let's jump in and take a look at today's topic in a little bit more detail. So I've talked with a lot of customers over the years working here at CTC Software, and I find that a lot of companies struggle overall to maintain and manage their project's model performance. They struggle to really help their team understand and implement specific standards and workflows that they consider good, and they struggle to centralize all of their project content. And it sounds like, it looks like, many of us on this webinar today, in this session, are probably struggling with similar things, someplace in our workflow. Well, here in this session, I want to show you how the Nexus Suite can really kind of change that workflow. It can revolutionize what you're doing, and I'm going to showcase the power of 3 individual modules. Actually, I'm going to highlight the power of 3 individual modules within the Nexus Suite. One is called the Project Activity Logger, or PAL. What that lets you do is effortlessly, really effortlessly, track your performance of your project models. There's another toolkit in there called Ally. This helps you real time while your users are designing and working in Revit, enforce your project standards and your project workflows and commands you do and do not want to be run, and just track whether they're being used or not. And then also in this suite, there's a content management system, or a CMS, and this is a great way to distribute all of your standard content to all of your internal users. All 3 of these work together. All 3 of these have a data logging aspect to them so that you can turn around and actually do some really powerful reporting as your users are leveraging this suite of tools. So in this session, I want to kind of give you some insights about how these modules can really help you out within the Nexus Suite. I'm going to go through a couple of things. I'm actually going to be describing some of the PAL functionality. I'm going to be explaining how Ally works a bit and some of what it can do for you. I'm going to outline a little bit about the CMS, the storage and the sharing of content. And then I'm going to discuss kind of the benefits of all of these working together. Now with this suite, each one of these 3, or actually 4 components, the reporting side is also included here. We have some very detailed webinars on the events page right now planned for these actual 4 modules in great detail. So we encourage you to sign up for those as well. Today I'm just going to be doing an overview introduction to all of these. I just want to make that very clear and showing off just a very little bit about them. So let's take a look at what the actual components are by name. I'll be referring to them by name for the rest of this little session here. So within the Nexus Suite, there's a Project Activity Logger, which we often call PAL, P-A-L. The PAL toolkit allows you to do quite a bit of data logging real-time silently while your users are just designing and working. Very little effort on setup for you. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail here in just a moment. The Ally toolkit is actually a project standards module. I'm going to be referring to it as Ally throughout the rest of the discussion today. This helps you establish and maintain good quality workflows while your users are designing in the Revit space. The content management system, or CMS, I'll be referring it typically as CMS because it's easier to say and it's a common terminology, allows you to store and distribute all of your Revit and AutoCAD content to your entire team. And then there's analytics, the analytics API. And there's some web analytics that are available as well. And that's actually a free portion of the Nexus Suite as a whole. In fact, the CMS actually has a free portion as well, where you don't have to pay to use it if you're going to be using just the publicly available libraries. So there's actually a few free components here within the Nexus Suite that you can leverage. Now, first, I want to jump into and talk about Nexus PAL, the project activity logger portion within Nexus. I'm going to outline exactly what it can do for you. So within Nexus, the PAL module, again, this is the project activity logger. What this lets you understand is the Revit model performance. It lets you understand what add-ins are loaded on users' computers, how fast your Revit project models are opening, how fast they're saving, where within those models your users are investing most of their time, i.e., are they spending their time in drafting views more? Are they spending their time in model views more? What's the breakdown of that? How much of your design budget goes to detailing versus design, right? Like you can derive a lot of that information with very little effort by using the PAL toolkit within the Nexus Suite. It also really helps you kind of organize your project models into logical projects. I know many of you work on very large projects that have more than one Revit project model at play. You can marry all of that data together and understand overall what is the project performance separate from a particular project model. I try to keep that very specific here. So PAL helps you with all of this just data logging, and it really is a logging aspect. There's not a lot of visual aspect for the user. The result of this data is all for you as an administrator. Next, I want to highlight another tool here, which is the Ally portion of the toolkit. This is the project standards, and I'm going to call this encouragement. See, a lot of us, we want to stand over the shoulder of our end users and really help coach them and guide them into best practices. But in reality, we can't do that. That's not possible, right? We have too many other things as BIM managers that we have to do, and we have too many other things as project architects that we have to do, and project engineers. We can't be standing over the shoulder of our modelers and drafters and coaching them through best practices. That's just not realistic. So what this lets you do, if you can set up certain tracked commands and you can live data log about those particular commands when users run them, you have the ability to present warnings to the end users if you want to and guide them through better workflows. So if they decide to call up a particular command that you don't feel is very palatable, like maybe modeling in place or maybe importing CAD, and you don't like that, that's fine. You can actually on screen when they go through the command give a warning, and that logs whether they decide to continue or not. And you, even if you need to, you can go one step further and actually put a bit of password protection on some of these specific commands, so that if you see maybe you've done a whole bunch of training after you realize like, hey, my team continually is still importing CAD and I really don't want them to do that. And I've thrown warnings up saying this is not best practice, do this instead, go to the CMS, get your details from there, whatever, right? And maybe now you want to like hard stop users and put a little bit of an extra wall in play. You can do that by password protecting specific commands in the Revit interface to make it a little bit more inconvenient for them to use those commands. And again, encourage them towards better workflows. You get to fully control that messaging. You get to fully control exactly how, I'll use the term aggressive, but how interfering that logging and that encouragement gets. But you have that level of control. Now let's talk about the CMS, the next portion here, the content management system. So the content management system within the Nexus Suite really is a fantastic way for you to distribute all of your standardized content. Maybe you don't have a good way to distribute your content. This Nexus Suite, along with all the data logging, along with that live standards encouragement, along with some of the other features of this, you have the ability to distribute all of your standardized content, whether that be Revit content here, whether that be AutoCAD content, maybe you're talking about project standards documentation, maybe you want templates and workflows, anything that you need to distribute in a standardized way to your entire team, no matter where they are, you can distribute very easily via the Nexus CMS. You also have the ability to save pre-collected sets of content. So if you want to build, say, a residential work set or a healthcare work set, or maybe you're doing particular customer work and you've got a client-specific collection of content, this CMS can really help you distribute that to the proper teams at the right time and give them immediate loading of whatever they need into their design environment, or opening up of standards documentation just on the fly in a simple single user interface. The final aspect I'm going to talk about here, and I'm going to do a little bit of showing off on some things, is the analytics aspect of Nexus. Nexus has a huge analytics engine. And what this will let you do is, for free, leverage the web API for anything that is Nexus related and anything that is accounts and licensing related. You can use this web API either from the portal directly, so that you can view some static reports, some base reports in the website, in the portal, or you can actually write your own Power BI reports or use whatever reporting engine you want. And what this lets you do is report on users and groups that you have in your company. So you can see a real quick bird's eye overview. You can filter for any of this information that you want to filter for, fully under your control, what you decide to show there. This also shows cloud shared licensing, so you can see the usage of other CTC tools, and for that matter, anything within the Nexus suite as well. We want you to understand exactly what the return on investment is for all the tools that you purchase from us, so that you can see how to advance that in firm and gain more productivity overall. The project activity logger here, the PAL information as far as model performance, that of course is all in there as well. Now the PAL portion and the CMS of your own libraries, those two portions, for those to actually have your data, you do have to have a paid license of the Nexus suite to log and to add your own libraries, but the analytics side will pull data from whatever is in the system regardless. And of course, the CMS data, so you can understand what content you have, where it's being loaded, who's searching for what their results are, what their experience is, all of that. With these four major areas within the Nexus suite, you can do all of this with the reporting, custom or just the stock base work within the web portal itself. So real quick, let's just take a look at what's going on here. In the actual CTC portal, there's actually very little difference here. Those of you who have used a lot of our tools before, you'll see it's very much the same. The dashboards over here, of course, have a lot of the reporting information that's available to you for what's going on for your firm, what kind of project data you've got, CMS data you've got, cloud shared licensing information. All of this is available for you to see. That's just included in that. The CMS, of course, all the same things we've managed before for CMS, all still here. Project manipulation, all of that standards manipulation. This might be new to some of you, but the standards aspect is here. This is the Ally toolkit. All that's available for you to leverage, all right? The CMS itself, if I pull that forward, here is the CMS on screen. You'll notice it looks just a little bit different than those who have seen our CMS in the past. The search bar has moved off of the top ribbon into the main window. When you actually do exercise an actual search looking for things like Revit templates here, the search bar will then move here to the top left and gives you some different information. So just a little reorganization of the screen for those of you who happen to have seen our CMS in the past. And of course, within, say, any reporting environment you'd like, you can begin to track and to customize all of your reporting and really filter down your users. In this case, I happen to be using Microsoft's Power BI desktop, and I'm using this just to quickly go through and understand all of the usage of all of my content and tools and whatnot here in this environment. All right. So definitely, the 25.0 version of the CTC Nexus Suite is incredibly powerful, has a lot of new features, works on Revit 2025, AutoCAD 2025, and both versions all the way back to 2021 Revit and AutoCAD. So we support 5 full version years of these tools. Oh, there's one more thing that I wanted to show, and this was a part of the Ally toolkit that I didn't yet show. In the Revit space, I was talking about the Ally standards toolkit that allows you to interact with users when they call up commands that perhaps you don't necessarily want them to be using. One example of that is the import CAD command. I don't really like when people import CAD directly into a Revit project model, so I happen to have put a little wall up here where they have to type something, import CAD, to actually continue on with the command. And so in this case, you can discourage the end user from doing a particular command, or you can cancel that out. Of course, they can cancel and go back and do something else. My messaging was more about don't do this, but you could also direct them to use something like the actual CMS. So up here on the productivity tab, rather my content tab is where where'd it go? I must have accidentally turned it off. That's fun. Up here would be the actual Nexus Suite with the CMS toolkit available to you. All right. So with that, this is just sort of a quick introduction of all of these tools. I am going to jump into the questions and answers. There's a few questions I saw come through. For those of you who aren't going to hang out for Q&A, I'm going to say thank you right now. And we hope you found this real quick introduction to the Nexus Suite valuable and gives you kind of an idea of what this suite can do. And we encourage you to take a look at the very detailed introductions tool by tool, showing off each of their individual functionalities coming up real soon.